Picture this: a bustling Wall Street trading floor, high-stakes deals, fortunes made and lost in an instant. Now, what if I told you the world's first financial elite, the original Wolves of Wall Street, weren't in New York, but in the dusty, sun-baked streets of ancient Babylon 4,000 years ago? That's right. Long before stock tickers and cryptocurrency, the world's first bankers were already managing debt, creating complex financial instruments, and building empires of wealth. Stick around, because we're about to uncover how these ancient pioneers laid the groundwork for our entire modern financial system. It all starts with something surprisingly simple: clay tablets. In Mesopotamia, the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, the Sumerians had invented writing. But they weren't just writing epic poems. They were writing contracts. These weren't your modern, jargon-filled legal documents. They were records of loans, often for things like seeds for the next harvest or silver for a trading venture. And this is where our story truly begins, because where there is debt, there is opportunity. The first bankers weren't in grand marble buildings. They were often powerful families, priests at the temple, or wealthy merchants who realized they could use their existing wealth to generate even more. They were the Egibi and Murashu families, names that might not be as famous as Rockefeller or Morgan, but in their day, they were the financial titans. They operated what we might call family offices, or even early hedge funds. So how did it work? Imagine you're a farmer in ancient Babylon. The harvest was bad, and you need barley seed to plant for next year. You go to a member of the Murashu family. They agree to lend you the seed. But it's not free. They draw up a contract on a wet clay tablet, stipulating that you must pay back the loan, plus interest, say 20%, after the next harvest. This tablet is then baked, making it a permanent, legally binding record. You get your seed, and the Murashu family has just created a future asset. But they didn't stop there. This is where it gets really clever and surprisingly modern. These families wouldn't just sit on thousands of these clay IOUs. They started trading them. Let's say one of our Murashu bankers needed some quick silver to fund a merchant's voyage to a distant land. He could take your loan tablet, your promise to pay back barley, and sell it to another wealthy individual for a lump sum of silver, probably at a slight discount. The new owner of the tablet now holds the right to your future harvest payment. They've just securitized debt. They bundled up loans and sold them on a secondary market. It's the same fundamental principle behind the mortgage-backed securities that play such a huge role in our economy today. These Babylonian bankers managed vast and diverse portfolios. They held loans for agricultural goods like barley, dates, and sesame oil. They financed trade caravans heading to Anatolia for metals, or to the Indus Valley for exotic goods. They even got involved in real estate. They would buy and sell fields, orchards, and even city houses, acting as both investors and brokers. Their clay archives were filled with deeds, rental agreements, and promissory notes, a complete snapshot of a thriving, complex economy. Power, as the saying goes, follows the money. And in Babylon, these banking families became incredibly powerful. They weren't just lenders, they were advisors to kings, political influencers, and major landowners. By controlling the flow of credit, they could influence everything from the price of grain to the funding of military campaigns. If the king needed to build a new canal or pay his soldiers, who do you think he turned to? The bankers. They held the books, they managed the debt, and in doing so, they held a tremendous amount of sway over the entire kingdom. The system wasn't without its problems, of course. High interest rates could cripple farmers, trapping them in cycles of debt. A bad harvest could lead to foreclosure, with a family losing their ancestral land. This is why some of the most famous legal codes from the region, like the Code of Hammurabi, include laws specifically to regulate interest rates and protect debtors. Hammurabi capped interest on grain loans at 33.3% and silver loans at 20%. There were even provisions for debt jubilees, where a new king might cancel all outstanding consumer debts to give the populace a fresh start and ensure social stability. It shows a sophisticated understanding that unchecked debt could tear the fabric of society apart. What's truly mind-blowing is how these concepts survived and evolved. The Greeks and Romans inherited and adapted these Mesopotamian financial tools. The Roman concept of the argentarius, a public banker who took deposits and exchanged currencies, was a direct descendant of these Babylonian pioneers. Through the ages, from the Italian merchant banks of the Renaissance to the stock exchanges of Amsterdam and London, the core ideas remained the same: lending with interest, creating tradable debt, and using capital to generate more capital. The technology has changed, of course. We've swapped baked clay tablets for encrypted digital ledgers and blockchain. Transactions happen in nanoseconds, not over months via camel caravan. But the fundamental human behaviors, the desire to grow wealth, the need for capital to fund new ventures, and the power that comes from controlling that capital are exactly the same. The financial elites of Babylon, with their cuneiform tablets and meticulous records, understood this. They were the original architects of a system that, for better or worse, continues to shape our world 4,000 years later. They prove that no matter the era, power always follows those who hold the books. So the next time you hear about a complex derivative or a multi-billion-dollar hedge fund, remember the Ejibi and Marashu families. Remember that the beating heart of finance isn't a modern invention, but an ancient human practice, born in the cradle of civilization, etched into clay. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this journey back in time as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more deep dives into the surprising history behind our modern world. Let me know in the comments what ancient topic you'd like to see next. See you in the next video.